Episode 3, take 2. We're back. 2 days in a row, but you won't see the first day. That's going in the B-roll. Yeah, we had an entire episode filmed last night, and
someone doesn't want us talking.
Corrupted files. Andrew's entire portion of it was just went kaput. So yeah, we're back, and we're gonna pretend like today is yesterday and completely redo everything. So we're gonna keep it in the same order that we had it. What's the first thing we're talking about, Andrew?
The flag that's right behind me.
The Gadsden kid.
Yeah.
The Colorado folk hero. So for anyone that missed it last week, which kind of hard to miss because it was actually a pretty big story that happened. This kid, Jaden. Jaden is J-Rod for VP. He has all these different patches on the back of his backpack. And the one that he got pulled into the principal's office for and kicked out of school for the day is this one down here, the Gadsden flag.
Yeah. They chose to tread on the one that says "Don't tread on me."
They did. They fucked around and they found out. So long story short, Jaden has a bunch of different patches on his backpack. Has the "Don't tread on me" one. One of his teachers calls up to the office and says, "Hey, this kid's slavery patch offends me." And then, yeah, the assistant principal, that's where that conversation came from. The video that I'm sure most of you saw, saying that a 12-year-old boy with the last name Rodriguez, if I am not mistaken, has a slavery patch on. And for anyone that doesn't know what that flag is a Revolutionary War icon that was developed by one of the early officers of the Navy. And yeah, it's, hey, no step on snack. No, it's it's a warning sign to the British, like, if you keep violating our rights,
sending criminals to sending criminals to the colonies, and we're gonna send our little friend.
Yeah. So the history behind it, to keep it short, was the British were using us much like they ended up using Australia, as like they were sending a lot of prisoners over, specifically to Georgia, and the colonists were not too keen on having a mass influx of ne'er-do-wells coming to the colonies. And so they said, hey, we should send them something back. And so Ben Franklin ended up taking the flag that was made and made, newspaper articles and whatnot saying, hey, we should send the rattlesnakes back. And if they want to keep sending us prisoners. So yeah, that's where the history of that flag comes from. Not a symbol of racism whatsoever. Was never intended to be a symbol of racism, but woke society.
Yeah, it's like an issue that I saw when I was in high school, like about 7 years ago. Same type of thing going on. I think it's one of their tactics to keep us in groupthink, left versus right, turn everything political, everything Democrat versus Republican. Even though, if you really look into it, this is not a right-left issue at all. It's simple American history.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is what we were founded on. It's
not black versus white, right versus left.
Nope, red versus blue.
There's just a basic truth behind it.
Yeah, it's don't step on my rights, don't violate my rights, and that is a symbol that every single American should be able to look upon and take something away from it that's positive. Of God, what's the word I'm thinking of? Just like, you can't step on my rights. That's where the Constitution comes in, and you cannot overstep the Constitution. It was made in place. It was put in place as a living document that still exists to this day for that very reason. So, but yeah, language, once again, we've talked about it a million times. You just change the narrative, and you change the narrative, that's when you get control.
I think the biggest reason they go after this specific flag, because this isn't the first time, I think it's because it's a flag used by a lot of militias.
Yeah.
And they don't like militias, even though there's a constitutional...
but it's not well regulated. I love hearing that argument.
Who decides that? Not the government.
The militias.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
how it's supposed to be.
So you can't say nothing.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been bastardized. I've said that for many years, being the self-proclaimed history buff that I am, about the Dixie flag, about how I hate that it's, and we talked about it before, how it's, I feel like a lot of people fly it out of spite because of the amount of,
you're a mad leftist, I'm gonna
do
this since I'm on the right.
I'm gonna trigger you. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the history behind that is, that's not even, everyone says it's the Confederate flag, the stars and bars, and it's literally not even the Confederate States of America flag. That flag was completely different. But that's another one that just, are we going to let the Gadsden flag be put in the same category as that? Then what, are they going to start burning those out of a symbol of hate? It's like, come on, where do we draw the line with this shit? Good news is the governor of Colorado ended up making a tweet about it and saying pretty much exactly what we just said, and saying it's a learning experience. And just to wrap it up, in my mind, it's kind of pitiful that the educators are the ones that are failing on being educated in this instance.
It's a Democrat governor, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that's awesome. I love that.
Yep. And again, that's where it circles back to what you said about it not being a left versus right thing. This is literally just a historical error that someone's trying to weaponize in politics.
And whether the governor wanted to do that or not, I think that one of the things that definitely pushed him to it was the amount of people that showed their support for that kid and the flag. That's what we want, dude. People coming together. I'm sure it wasn't only people on the right.
Mm-mm.
This is something simple, things like this that we all need to use to unite us.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a symbol of what united, the colonists back in the day, and it's a symbol that's
uniting us today.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Moving on to slightly more tragic news. More and more developments from Maui. And, we talked about it last night, and, we want to keep talking about it, that we don't want to let this go. This is along the lines for us, as Epstein didn't kill himself, and that's still a thing. Don't let this die for the memory of the people that were involved and the victims.
Yeah, don't let it turn into the Vegas shooting, the Afghanistan withdrawal. I mean, I've heard nothing on either of those stories, and those weren't that long ago. Let's never forget this one. Let's let this be the line. We're not going to forget, and we're going to keep asking questions and holding people accountable.
Yep. Because 1,000 people that are missing is unacceptable when there's no answers coming out. And to talk about more answers not coming out, here we have total media blackouts, essentially. And there's a massive drone area that has been cordoned off that people aren't allowed to fly drones over the area. So, prohibited of collecting footage. Announced local shut down the ability to fly drones. Been on public property that was not in any way locked down. That's where my footage, but those areas are no longer available for filming.
Yeah.
And that also leads us to the next source we have on this.
Got a nice video for you.
Yeah, we got a nice little video. Now, full disclosure, this gentleman, this reporter, has been labeled a conspiracy theorist by Google. So take that for what you will. Again, we like to get the information out there. Take it with a grain of salt. Do with it what you will.
A non-trusted source calling someone a non-trusted source.
Yeah, a totally politically motivated company trying to decry things is laughable in my mind. But again, take everything with a grain of salt. We like to present everything out there, and you formulate your own opinion. So another thing that's been happening is not only just the drone
police cars showing these special police. I'm not sure what
area that's been an area of denial that's been created, but they're also setting up miles of black fencing around the entire perimeter, and they've heightened security to now involve the National Guard and I believe he says out of state security.
National Guard came,
but let's let him talk about it.
Moving, so you cannot pull over. You can't even stop your car anywhere near any of this anymore. Now, I'm going to show you a fairly long clip that shows just how extensive the fencing is on the western side of the main highway here. And there also is National Guard, regular police, and what I have dubbed special police, which are these police cars that are foreign made. The people that are driving them they don't look like any police I've ever seen in the United States. So kind of a bizarre situation, but they have a huge presence standing guard, ensuring that nothing can be documented. You can't stop your car. You can't pull over. You can't fly a drone. You can't take a picture. You can't get in anywhere near any of this, which is part of what makes the footage that I have so unique. Now, I always
Okay, I think we'll stop it there. We get the gist of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the official reports about that fence from the local government was that they're put up to stop dust from getting into the area that they're investigating. You saw how high the fence was. That ain't stopping no dust.
No, I mean that doesn't even make sense. Like I mean, unless they're trying to justify it from getting on the road, but I mean, it looks like it's less than 10 feet. Yeah. So it's like just high enough to not be able to see over, but that's it. I mean, unless you had like a ladder, but then you can't see over it if you're being chased off by the National Guard.
Right. So not only did they shut off the water, they didn't turn on the alarms, they didn't shut off the electricity.
They didn't use the sirens.
Yeah, they didn't use the sirens, the alarms, nothing, no text messages, which we know they're capable of because that morning before the major fire broke out, there were a couple small brush fires where the residents received messages telling them that everything was contained and nothing to worry about. So they're actually in a state of calm before the major one came with no text message. But all of that, and not only all that, but they are also trampling on their First Amendment rights.
Yep. Freedom of the press.
Yep. And freedom to assemble if they're getting kicked off.
And freedom to assemble, yeah. It's definitely a dark situation that just seems to have more and more red tape over it for one reason or another. And I don't like to jump to conclusions, and I don't even know what conclusion I would jump to, but I'm pretty sure in the past 2 weeks already that we've seen a lot of sketchy shit happening.
Yeah. It's very reminiscent of the Las Vegas shooting.
Yeah.
Not only the cover-up, but also ties. The man in charge.
It's almost like there's ties to it.
Yeah, we talked about that before. The police chief of Maui is the same guy who was the incident commander of the Las Vegas shooting.
Mm-hmm. Ironic. You decide. Reference episode 1 for that if anyone wants to go back and take a look. We definitely hit on this topic a lot in episode 1. But yeah, and one other thing that we wanted to cover on this, just to push the whole ridiculousness that is the state of our nation right now. During this happening, this whole incident, where are Senator Pocahontas Warren and old
warmongering Graham?
Yeah, old warmongering Graham. Where are they at? Well, they're rubbing elbows with Zelensky. Haven't gone to Maui. They haven't gone to a state that was absolutely ravaged.
The people who still haven't received, even it's not even comparable the amount of aid the people of Ukraine have received from the United States compared to Maui, largest wildfire in almost a century.
Yep. And here are these goobers and whoever this Skeletor looking fucker is.
And this Elizabeth Warren, known Democrat, Lindsey Graham, well-known Republican in the GOP. This is perfect symbolism of exactly what we're talking about. There is no left versus right. It's a uniparty. It's the elite in power against we the people. They can't make it more obvious. They don't even hide it.
And for anyone that paid attention to middle school, high school, wow. All right, my mind's blanking. I guess I didn't pay attention in middle school or high school. Basic forms of government. The crazy thing, and my brother is actually the one that brought this up to me years ago that I didn't even think about for a long time, is if one side ever decides to cross the aisle, we then become an oligarchy, where all the elites are the ones that make all the decisions, and there are no parties, and there are no differing opinions, and you don't have a voice anymore. Not that you have much of one, the way things are now, but keep that in mind, that if
so that's why there's an illusion of two parties.
Goobers, yeah, that's exactly why, because they have to keep up the appearance that we have.
Yeah, so it's dog and pony show.
Oh yeah, it's smoke and mirrors. I mean, dude, just look into lobbying. You want to look in the dark, corrupt side of this nation? Just look into lobbying. Yeah. You can just pay for people to vote on different things if you got enough money.
Follow the money, and not just the money, but it. You can see how much they flip-flop. You can remember from 4 years ago, 8 years ago, 12 years ago, 16 years ago. They flip every single election. They never stay true to anything.
Yep. And to hammer that point home, let's be very clear that well, for one, preface this with I'm not pushing anything what I'm about to say at all, because again, I like Trump. I've had flaws. Trump has his flaws. I've had things I disagree with. I have things that I agree with. He is the first president that ever stepped foot in the White House saying that he supports gay marriage. And everyone that talked about Obama being this huge bringing people together, yada, yada, yada. 2008, he was against gay marriage. 2012, he was against gay marriage.
Same thing with Biden and Hillary. It's on record.
Yep, on record. So keep that in mind when you hear the party of peace and inclusion are the same people that's only happened in the last 10 years. But we like to sweep that under the rug.
Yeah.
So the next topic, let's go into COVID again. We got a quick little thing, and the reason that Andrew specifically wanted to bring this up is it's very relevant into the foreseeable future, the near future of the potential lockdowns that have been circulating, and coming back to all this. 2020-esque policies. And yeah, we just think it's relevant. This article is from 2020, but if we're going back to 2020-esque policies and 2020-esque statistics, we might as well reference the material. So here we go. So this is an article from the Johns Hopkins newsletter. Full disclosure, this article, well, you know more about what happened with this, right? Why it was retracted.
Yeah, so
wasn't it because of misuse?
Hopkins, yeah, so the Johns Hopkins Institute newsletter published by the students of Johns Hopkins, which was established in 1896. The source is from November 27th, 2020. It's a closer look at U.S. deaths due to COVID-19. They're looking at the numbers of deaths for different causes, comparing it with COVID-19. But before I get into it, the reason the source has retracted this article, they said that it has been brought to their attention that coverage of this presentation has been used to support dangerous inaccuracies that minimize the impact of the pandemic. So, importantly, they're not saying that, they're not disputing the accuracy of the report. They're not saying anything in here is misleading. They're saying that it's being used by people to spread misleading information or being misrepresented. So we're just going to read straight from the source.
Weaponized.
Right.
Essentially. It's being weaponized.
Yeah. And we're going to quote the source. So
yep.
nothing,
so let's,
they haven't taken any of this back.
Let's get into the actual PDF. So again, full disclosure, this was retracted, but it was retracted because people were out there fear-mongering the other direction. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to actually inform you with the facts. We just want to present the facts. All right, so what we got?
Okay. So first, the author writes, after retrieving data on the CDC website, Bryant compiled a graph representing percentages of total deaths per age category from early February to early September, which includes the period from before COVID-19 was detected in the United States to after infection rates soared. Surprisingly, the deaths of older people stayed the same before and after COVID-19. Since COVID-19 mainly affects the elderly, experts expected an increase in the percentage of deaths in older age groups. However, this increase is not seen from the CDC data. In fact, the percentages of deaths among all age groups remain relatively the same. And she goes on to say the reason we have a higher number of reported COVID deaths among older people than younger people is simply because every day in the United States, older people die in higher numbers than younger people. It's common sense.
Makes sense to me.
So
Age
basically,
is the ultimate killer.
Yeah. So basically, older people weren't dying at a higher rate than they were before, which is not what they wanted you to believe. If you remember the CNN 24-hour death tracker talking about how this is unprecedented, huge pandemic. Well, it's not that more older people were dying. They were just attributing all of these deaths to COVID-19 without evidence, basically.
Oh yeah, we all remember the different the different instances of the whistleblowers, if you want to call them that, the different doctors that were reporting on well so and so had bronchitis and passed away. Yeah. And that's a COVID symptom, or so and so had the flu but also had a cough and a fever, so they instantly died from COVID. And I specifically remember hearing that there was like really fraudulent ones out there as well. I think the big memed one, if not being actually accurate, was somebody dying of gunshot wounds and it being ruled as COVID, because the big important factor to remember in that is a lot of these hospitals got kickbacks for the amount of COVID. Well, I shouldn't say kickbacks. Government relief aid for the amount of COVID cases they had.
And also, if you remember, the CDC back in 2021 issued a report stating that it is no longer requiring a positive COVID-19 test result to report a positive COVID-19 diagnosis. All they needed was one or more of the COVID-19 symptoms, which are exactly the same as flu symptoms.
As the flu. Yep.
Which is why the flu disappeared, and which brings me to my next point. When Brian looked at the 2020 data during that seasonal period, COVID-19 related deaths exceeded deaths from heart diseases. This was highly unusual since heart disease has always prevailed as the leading cause of deaths. However, when taking a closer look at the death numbers, she noted something strange. As Brian compared the number of deaths per cause during that period in 2020 to 2018, she noticed that instead of the expected drastic increase across all causes, there was a significant decrease in deaths due to heart disease. So basically, instead of seeing more people that have pre-existing conditions dying because they have these pre-existing conditions, all you're seeing is people dying of COVID-19 without any reporting on their pre-existing conditions like heart diseases, which is the leading cause of death on this chart.
Yep.
It practically, it went down. It didn't make sense.
What do you mean? It just went away. See, COVID is the ultimate
cured heart
cure.
disease, the flu,
right.
And Putin should get the Nobel Peace Prize for ending COVID.
Yeah, he should. he really should. Thank Christ. It's when you fudge the numbers the way that they've been allegedly fudged, it's no wonder to see why so many people were worked up into a hysteria, because
it's absolutely the hysteria, and that's why you see the numbers rising right now. They're pushing the fear again. People are getting scared. You have the sniffles, you're running into the hospital and saying you got COVID. And they're reporting it as COVID, and they're going to get the kickbacks for it.
Yep. I'm already starting to see more and more people out and about masking up, and I'm starting to actually at the gym. I actually just saw this today, so this is better than yesterday's reporting on it. There's a post there saying that cases of COVID are drastically rising, and they recommend everyone wear a mask. And
in the gym, while you're sweating profusely and breathing heavily around everyone, it's going to save you.
It's already scientifically proven that the masks have, like, I believe, I don't want to misrepresent it. It would be easy to find the source, I'm sure.
We sourced it last week.
Gonna go look for it really quick, but I believe it's 7 times more than the recommended intake of harsh chemicals by breathing in a mask.
We also pulled up a source last week and go back and look of the efficiency of masks. It's not as efficient as they have you believe. And you can check back to episode 2 for that source.
Yeah. It's so here we are back at it. Maybe. I don't think it's going to get anywhere. I personally don't think it's going to get anywhere near as bad as it did in 2020, because I think a lot more people are aware, will use, than before. But again, we want to report on it because, I mean, those that aren't need to know the facts and formulate their own opinion. So, in other news, moving away from that, let's take a trip across the pond. The Digital Service Act package. So this is something that was brought to our attention from a mutual friend, and this is actually covering freedom of speech and whatnot on the internet and fact checking and whatnot. So I don't know too much about this, but I thought it was important to talk on, because whenever First Amendment in the West, obviously there's not First Amendment anywhere but the United States, but when freedom of speech in the West is impacted, I feel like it's necessary that we should talk about it, because
we got to stop that trend before it comes across the ocean.
Right. And the West is the bastion of civilization in my mind. So we got to make sure that we're living up to those standards. So this bill was passed or act, I suppose, was passed to basically help moderate different things on the internet, for, misinformation, hate speech, all that stuff. In my mind, certain things. Okay, so let's talk about the other part.
It was the main
part in
two.
this that I
There's one part in this
that I do. There is one part in this that I do agree with, and this is what really, really like what the hell to me about this is that they're lumped together. The first one is obviously misinformation, and the United States, they put up about 6 pop-ups before you could even access what you're trying to get at by saying, "Oh no, we have independent fact checkers," which is like, okay, who's to say that these fact checkers are legit? That's just my take on it. But if they want to do that, I don't agree with that. I don't think that you should be moderate. I mean, I think if you want to do what the United States is doing, that's about the extent. I still don't agree with that. But the other thing that's roped into this act is illicit things with minors, is what we'll say. The viewing of, and I 1,000% agree with that. I think that anyone that's involved with that should be thrown under the jail. I don't think those people deserve to see the light of day. My issue with this is, why the hell is this included in a misinformation?
It's pretty clear what they were doing. If misinformation is really such a big deal, then that's all you need to put in it. But they know what they're doing. They know that
allegedly,
they know that they're
allegedly,
tyrants. They know that they're tyrants, and they don't want to face the backlash, because if you come out against this thing, then they can just go ahead and say, "Oh, okay, so you support the other thing that we talked about."
Yeah,
just a way to demonize the opposition and to put people into groups, and
right, because if you support free journalism, then I guess somehow you also support the illicit viewing of minors, which okay, that's so this is very dangerous slope.
This is something pretty similar that Canada's already done. I think about 6 months ago, Trudeau passed a bill in Canada right after the pandemic, to where if you want to post any news on the internet in Canada, you have to be granted permission by the Canadian government.
Do you remember what that's called?
I don't.
All right, let me look that up. Keep talking about it.
So one of the things that's happened recently because of that bill, there's been wildfires in northern Canada, and the residents up there are trying to make Facebook posts online to warn each other about the fires and where not to go, so people can stay clear of the fires, obviously. But as soon as they start talking about the fires, it's considered news, and Facebook works hand in hand with the government in Canada to censor people in Canada. The posts immediately get taken down, immediately get censored, and they're labeled. It's like they're publishing news without permission from Canada. And it's causing a lack of communication between the residents there. Just trying to warn their neighbors from a fire.
Yep.
And the owner of Facebook is an American, so it's kind of sickening that Americans are working hand in hand with these tyrannical governments like China, Canada. Sure that they do it in other countries too.
Yeah, right here. Canadian news industry groups have asked the country's antitrust regulator to investigate Meta Platform's decision to block news on platforms in this country, accusing Facebook parent of abusing its dominant position. Meta started blocking news on Facebook and Instagram platforms for all users in Canada last week in response to a law requiring the internet giants to pay for news articles. So it's Facebook that's pushing for it because of a law that Canada passed that requires them to pay for actual news. So it's the tycoons that are pushing it, which is Zuck, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing, you freaking lizard? What the hell? Yeah, so anyways, point of all that, freedom of speech, freedom of press. That's why the Second Amendment was created for us. And don't
tread on it.
Don't tread on it. No step on snack. Fuck around and find out.
Like John Paul Jones said, who flew this flag, I have not yet begun to fight. Nothing's even happened yet.
Nothing's even happened yet. Nope. You gotta, stand firm in your beliefs and protect the Constitution. Learn the Constitution. I need to study the Constitution more, and I have read it multiple times. I need to read it even more. This is something that is vital. These are your rights. The amendments. These are your rights, and you need to study up on them to understand fully what all our founding fathers gifted us with, and not only gifted us with, but put us in charge to be responsible of it and to be the custodians of it, to move forward and to keep this living document valid and to keep it, relevant. It's our duty as being born in this nation. So many people talk about how, oh, well, you lucked out, you were born in America, and they're right. It's like the roll of a dice, and you could be born anywhere, and we're lucky, thank God, enough to be Americans. But because of that, in my opinion, we have the responsibility to uphold the Constitution, obviously the duty to uphold the Constitution, but also the responsibility to get involved with local politics and to actually go out and vote. That's more of a moral obligation in my mind, but you've had so many people throughout the years give their lives on the altar of freedom. Use it, exercise it. What the hell?
Yeah.
Millions of people have died in the past for it.
And we are lucky to be born here. And we do, contrary to popular belief, the United States takes in more immigration than any other country in the world.
Yeah, I mean, every immigrant I've ever
you could
spoken
take that
with
one to the bank.
Yep, has said that pretty much everyone dreams of coming here. Yet we have, these pink-haired college kids that like to burn the flag and step on it and say we're a bunch of fascists. And they have every right to do that. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to be the person that sits there and stops them. I don't agree with it. But it's the mentality. The mentality of this nation has shifted so drastically. And I'm not saying, I think a majority of people think like we do, but there is a growing cancer in this country of this mindset. It's not a cancer of people, it's a cancerous mindset of that this place is awful. And right. I don't understand where that comes from. I mean, all you have to do is do a little research.
They're trying to spin it black versus white, which, to argue that point, all right, so people like to use the Gadsden flag as an argument and call it pro-slavery flag, like they did to the kid in Colorado Springs. They want to say that all the founding fathers are racist white slave owners, whatever they want. Well, those racist white slave owners who wrote the Constitution intentionally worded it a certain way, expecting us to one day free the slaves and have equal rights for everyone. They wrote this down in personal letters. It's a well-known fact that they did this.
You're just making that up. They hate everyone except white you feel millionaires.
That way, go in the comments. I'll reply and tell you exactly where to go to find the truth.
He's gonna smack you upside the head with the truth. If you guys have agreed, disagreed with anything that we've said so far, again, like we've said in most episodes, get down there and let us know. Get down in the comments. We love debates. I'll say it again. We're sponges for information, so we like counterpoints and everything. So let us know. But one of the final points that just kind of happened all of a sudden yesterday. Now it was the same day yesterday. when we recorded this, but Jimmy Buffett passed away yesterday, and yeah, just a sad 76. Not that old. I mean, it's old enough, but
Pour one out for Jimmy. Make
pour one
it tall
out
and
for
strong.
Jimmy. Yeah, have a margarita for Jimmy, because his music was like the most chill damn music you can listen to. That is the most like, I just had a shit day at work. It's hot as hell. Let's go have a good time. And if more people listen to music like that, I think there'd be a lot less hate in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, other than that, it's been a pretty slow. Well, last week was a pretty slow news week. Not
slow
too
for 2023.
slow for 20. Yeah, slow considering. I guess the only other fun things that were happening were the all the posts that Trump was posting, all those videos on Twitter. Those are interesting. But yeah, other than that, got any parting thoughts, Andrew? Anything you want to leave off with? Anything we didn't cover that you want to hit on?
We covered it, but I just want to remind everybody, do not forget about the people of Maui. They are being treated so unfairly, treated lower by our own government than residents from foreign countries. It's sickening.
Yep.
Let's not forget. Let's not forgive. Let's hold people accountable.
Yep. And another thing to hit on with that really quick too. The saddest thing to me is seeing the different town halls that I've seen where the locals are literally saying, you wanted us to join your country. We were doing fine without you. You wanted us to join your country, and this is how you treat us. That is so sad. That just sounds like we just went in, annexed a country, and have done nothing but take from them. Obviously.
But if the people of this country who greatly outnumber the elites in this country, let's look past left and right, unite, and we can lift each other up.
Yeah, and help each other, because God knows we all need it, especially in the years to come. But yeah,
that's all I got.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a wrap for this week. Again, like we were saying, comment, like, subscribe, all the fun things. We really appreciate it. We want to grow the audience as much as we can, as much as people want to listen to us. I know sometimes we can come off as a little stale, sometimes we can come off as a little gruff, but we're just a couple of young dudes out here trying to get the message out. And for each person that watches, thank you. We really appreciate it. We hope that we've done our best to be as informative and as trustworthy as we can be with the information that we give you guys. And again, I know that Andrew will echo me on this, but all the things that we try to give you are the facts, and formulate your own opinions. I never want to tell somebody how to think. That's not how I am. That's not how I've ever wanted to be. I just want to lay everything out on the table and say, hey, there's a few dots here that can be connected. I'm not going to tell you to connect them, but if you want to, it's there. Only other thing, I'm streaming every weekday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, over on Twitch. I'll link it down in the description. Stop by and say hi. We're playing some Starfield this week, so that'll be fun. And yeah, other than that, everybody have a good week. Have a good Labor Day. Labor Day and Memorial Day confused. This will be posted on Labor Day, and hopefully everyone has a good time with their family and a good rest of the week. But we'll catch you guys next week.